Do you want to begin by telling us what a Kshetra is and how is it even related to our favorite subject, Tantra?
Yes.
What's the correlation? Because even the core thought behind these Bhairav Mandirs is protecting the Kshetra.
Yes.
What else? Like, geographically, when we speak about the subcontinent, I have a couple of questions for you. One is, what is a Kshetra? Where are we going? Two, if you could just touch upon the astrological angle for a Kshetra as well.
Okay. So Kshetra is fundamentally a geographical area where a deity or a divine force decides to interact or stay. Okay. So that is a Kshetra of the deity. It's like a house of the deity. Okay. And so, for example, Kashi is a Kshetra of Shiva. Kamakhya is a Kshetra of Kamakhya, Ma Kamakhya. Ujjain is a Kshetra of Mahakal. Okay. Similarly, Vrindavan is a Kshetra of Krishna. He was born there and all that. So basically an area which has the imprint of the Devata's Shakti. Okay. And these areas are carefully chosen. It cannot be random. Specifically going to Shakta Dharma. Shakta Dharma is more specifically worship of Shakti. Let's consider that as a Shakta Dharma. And that is something I consider very close to my heart, because somehow or the other I feel that there is a dip in the Shakta Dharma that has happened in India.
Really?
It has to increase more in its true grandeur without getting sublimated through other dharmas. Which means there are a lot of people who worship Devi, but their fundamental attitude or the fundamental nature through which the paddhati in which they approach worship of Devi is more or less either kind of loose Vaishnavism or something like that. I want, if she wills it, a time when Shakta Dharma in its true essence comes in. And that would involve, obviously, the primary things is Tantra Shastras. Tantra Shastra and the Shakta Agamas, without looking into them, without recommendations that they suggest, if that is not being done, then it is not Shakta Dharma. Okay, it's like it's difficult to explain. Say, I'm speaking to you in English, but still I'm an Indian, right? I'm not a foreigner. So it is like that. So I'm saying that I worship Ma Durga, but all the tendencies and the methods I'm using to do the worship, etc., is more or less a loose Vaishnavism, a loose Puranic method, and something not conformed to the core tantric methods and all. Tantra is, right now as it is there, is the path of the mother. She loves it. Make no mistake about it. Great Siddhas have come in the tantric path, and it is her domain. Okay. So eventually, if she wills it, if Ma Kamakhya wills it, there will be an upsurge in more acceptance and practice of Tantra Sadhana in India. Maybe, I don't know when, 10 years, 15 years, 50 years, whenever it happens, she wills it. But perhaps the time has come now. And somehow, worship of Bhairava is a precursor to that. Until Bhairava comes in and he clears the path, the real Tantra Sadhana Shakta Dharma doesn't arise in that format. He is the first one.
Is there like a duration?
Not in our domain. They know. So Kshetra is basically an area that holds the energy of the deity. When it comes to Shakta Dharma or Shakti Upasana, there are 51 Shakti Peethas. We know that. So these Shakti Peethas were created by the mythological, the Puranic story that we have is when Sati went to the Daksha Yagya and she self-immolated, then Shiva got very angry. He carried the dead body of Sati and he danced around in anger and grief. And then Lord Vishnu comes and he cuts the body into parts. And those 51 parts fall in different areas across India. Some in Bangladesh, some in Pakistan area, and all that also is there. And each of them becomes a Shakti Peetha. Okay. Now 51 is a very crucial number. 51 is also linked to the Matrikas, the alphabets in Sanskrit. Each of the Sanskrit alphabet is a deity, a Matrika. Speech is a Devata. Speech is a deity.
Wow.
Matrikas is a deity. The alphabets are the deity. Your knowledge of the language determines how much you can think. If you cannot name something, you don't know what it is. The moment you can name a thing, you have some power over it. That which you cannot name, the indefinable, you have no power over the indefinable. Okay. Name means quality. Some attachment aa gaya. Jitna bhi, even if it's minor thing. So these 51 therefore are the Shakti Peethas. And these Shakti Peethas are governed also by certain geographical markers. There are certain texts, tantras, and traditional knowledge which tells you where certain areas are fit to become Shakti Peethas. For example, if there is a cremation ground close by, if there is a north flowing river, a river that is flowing towards northern direction, okay, and if there is a Kurma Prishtha Yami, which means like the back of a tortoise, Kurma Prishtha. Kurma is tortoise, Prishtha is back, like this kind of a land. If these three converge together, then that area is extremely good for Shakti Upasana. So like this, various places were marked as Shakti Peethas. Kamakhya, for example, is one of the most powerful Shakti Peethas we know of. Okay? And it is the Kshetra of Bhagavati Kamakhya, that Nilachal Parvat. In fact, historically, there's a story how in between, actually Kamakhya is so old that I don't know, it must be more than 3000 years old. It's older than, it's from the time when the Mahabharata was there. It was from a time when the Vedas were not yet classified. So Vedas were orally transmitted. The classification of the Veda into the Vedatraya happened some amount of time later. It's possible that the Peetha of Kamakhya existed from that time, or perhaps even older than that. So that's continuously existing Peetha. That's why it's the most revered of all Shakti Peethas. And also it is the Yoni Peetha, where the Yoni of the mother had fallen. Okay. So Kshetra is primarily an area where the deity resides. Okay. Deity is energy, his or her. And that is, I am talking about Shakti Peethas. It could be Mahakal is like, Ujjain is Mahakal Kshetra. Okay. Like that. It could be Vaishnava Kshetras also. The deity's energy is most easily present in that Kshetra. And in order to keep that energy intact, in order that humans can benefit from that energy, so we create temples. According to the Shastras, we follow ritual paddhatis of worship of the deity that keeps the power alive and active at that point, that specific area. And if all rules are followed for hundreds, for thousands of years, people can come and benefit spiritually from that space.
One small pause. Basically, when you go to a temple and you pray to a murti, now that temple could be anywhere, it could be small, but if lots and lots of human beings go to those temples with their wishes and their faith, they leave an aspect of themselves in that temple, at least.
Yeah.
Which is why when you go to any temple anywhere in the world or any place of worship, you do feel, for lack of better words, a vibe in the air.
Right.
But the thing is, when we're talking about Shakti Peeths and the way they are geographically built as well as architecturally designed, there's something even more potent about
Correct.
them. You said 51 existed. Many of them were destroyed.
Yes.
Because they were outside of the Indian border.
Yeah.
I would wonder if they used to stretch as far as maybe even beyond the Middle East.
I don't know. I don't think it was that far. There's another spiritual lore that says that actually there are more than 51 Peethas, but it is not always revealed to humans.
But it's on earth.
It's like this. So these things are governed. So as I mentioned to you, when the deity wills ki, okay, let's unveil a new Peetha, a new place. Okay, the environment is right, the time is right, the people are right, something may rise up. So, but there are Peethas which were there in Pakistan and all that, in Bangladesh, and most likely some are existent, some might have been destroyed. So there's the Hinglaj Shakti Peetha in Pakistan on the border areas of, I think, Afghanistan or somewhere, Pakistan-Afghanistan border. So obviously those are on very dilapidated conditions, even if they exist.
We have knowledge about them at least.
The Hinglaj you can find on Google also.
I mean, like, it's all compiled ki where the 51 were.
Yes, there are tantras which mention all the 51.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that is there.
And they were all roughly in the subcontinental region.
They were in the subcontinent. In fact, and not just subcontinent, a lot of them were in the Bengal, Bihar, Bangladesh, those regions. Because Shakti Upasana, Tantra Upasana primarily was a focus in these areas. She was the primary deity there. Okay. So these Peethas are linked to Tantra Sadhana.